Since ancient times, the human mind has been an enthralling enigma, full of mysteries that we are still trying to unravel. Among these mysteries, the question of how love manifests itself holds a special place. Love, this powerful force that moves the world, is not always expressed in obvious ways. Often it is hidden in the subtlest gestures, in silence full of meaning, and in actions that seem inconspicuous but carry profound messages. Imagine that there are certain signs, a kind of archetypal symbol, that reveal these hidden feelings. What if there was a way to understand what a man really feels, even if he doesn't say it directly? Louise Hay, an outstanding figure in the field of the power of thought and self-healing, taught that our minds reflect our deepest emotions. When it comes to love, our psyche can become a canvas on which truths are projected that we do not dare to utter aloud. Thus, even the most insignificant gestures can speak louder than words, hinting at feelings suppressed by fear, insecurity, or social constraints. Repressed love is a fascinating phenomenon. Often men, driven by their fears and insecurities, prefer to remain silent about their feelings, fearing rejection or not knowing how to cope with their emotions. However, despite all attempts to hide it, their subconscious finds ways to express these feelings, like a river seeking its course. Love manifests itself in unexpected ways, in a gaze that lingers a little longer than usual, in quiet concern, in the desire to be near for no apparent reason. All of this can tell you much more than any words. Imagine a person consumed by deep feelings, but forced to hide them under the yoke of personal circumstances or social norms. His mind insists on silence, assuring him that the time for recognition has not yet come. However, the subconscious has its own plans, and like dreams revealing innermost desires, the smallest actions of this person become the key to unraveling his true feelings. Body language, decisions made, even the manner of reacting to the presence or absence of a loved one. All these are signals indicating a feeling striving to break free. But why does a man prefer to hide his love? The answer lies in his inner struggle. Often it's a conflict between the image he presents to the world and his authentic self, capable of feeling without restrictions. Society dictates rules, imposes expectations, and cultivates fears that force many to suppress their emotions, for fear of appearing vulnerable or losing control. However, even the most reserved person is unable to completely hide the truth, which seeps through in the smallest details of his behavior. And here's the most interesting thing. An observant person is able to notice these signs before the lover himself realizes them. This article will explore the deepest and most revealing signs of a man's secret infatuation. It's not about obvious gestures or loud confessions, but about signals emanating from the very depths of his being. The information you receive may forever change your perception of love and relationships. The first sign of a man's secret infatuation manifests itself in his presence in your life, even without a single word. Louise Hay argued that our thoughts and emotions shape reality, attracting certain people and situations to us. In love, this manifests itself in a subconscious desire to be near the object of adoration for no apparent reason. It's as if the energy of one person feels drawn to another, directing him to moments when his presence seems unexpected, to places where he was not expected, or to conversations that seem random, but actually reveal a connection but much deeper than he himself dares to admit. If a man constantly appears at the most unexpected moment, looks for reasons to be near, shows a sincere interest in your life that goes beyond simple politeness or friendship, then this indicates something more. He may not express his feelings in words, but his constant presence reflects his emotions. Repressed love manifests itself not in loud statements, but in a subconscious need for closeness, in meetings that seem accidental, but are the result of an attraction that he cannot control. The most intriguing thing about this is that often he doesn't even realize his behavior, justifying it with rational arguments. It's just a coincidence. We're friends. We have common interests. But the reality is this. His subconscious pushes him towards you because his soul recognizes the importance of your presence in his life. He wants to see, understand, and feel you nearby. Pay attention to his reaction. Does he notice details that others miss? Does his smile change in your presence? Does he anticipate your needs? All of these are signs that there is something more between you than friendship or sympathy. But there is another, equally significant sign that manifests in how a man becomes your unspoken guardian without even fully realizing it. Deep within the male nature lies an ancient and powerful instinct for protection. When a man feels a deep attachment to a woman, he instinctively seeks to protect her and care for her well-being. However, this impulse is not always expressed openly and explicitly. He won't always directly talk about his worries, but he will keenly perceive details that escape the attention of others. Noticing your fatigue, he will find a way to give you rest without waiting for requests. If he senses your anxiety, he will subtly try to restore your self-confidence. His love, perhaps unspoken, manifests in this constant, vigilant protection, in caring for your well-being, which surpasses words. Surprisingly, he doesn't need grand gestures to prove his devotion. True protection often lies in the small things, in how he stands between you and potential danger, how he makes sure you get home safely, in his willingness to listen to you when others seem uninterested. No matter how hard he tries to hide his feelings, his subconscious acts independently of his will. If you notice that he is constantly concerned about your well-being, subtly intervenes when he senses a threat, or looks at you with the gaze of someone seeking to protect you from pain, then you have undeniable proof. What his mind is trying to hide, his heart has already revealed. And this is just the beginning. There are many other signs that can reveal a man's true feelings, even when his words say otherwise. Stay with us, because what you learn could fundamentally change your understanding of love and human relationships. True love rarely manifests openly and obviously. Often it hides in the smallest gestures, in silence filled with meaning, in glances that linger a little longer than usual. Among all the signs that betray hidden love, emotional connection to your pain stands out in particular. Louise Hay argued that our emotions not only shape our reality, but also create invisible connections with the people around us. When a man is secretly in love, his heart intertwines with yours in a way that goes beyond rational understanding. He may not express it in words, not find precise formulations, but his body language and energy will not be able to hide his feelings. When you are sad, he feels it. His face changes, his behavior becomes different, and without even realizing it, he takes on your emotional state. This is not just superficial sympathy, but a sincere reaction of his subconscious, forcing him to experience your pain as his own. The most interesting thing is that he often doesn't understand why this is happening. Seeing your anxiety, he may become more serious for no apparent reason, sigh deeply, or become silent at times when he would normally be talkative. These gestures are not accidental. They are a manifestation of a connection that goes beyond words and manifests in the deepest corners of his soul. Pay attention to minor signs. Does his behavior change when he senses something is wrong with you? Does he try to distract you, cheer you up, or support you without waiting for requests? Does he show concern or become more protective in moments of your emotional vulnerability? If you notice such manifestations, then you have encountered one of the deepest signs of hidden love. After all, when a man loves secretly, he can hide his words, but cannot hide his feelings. An undeniable sign of a man's deep affection is his genuine interest in your personality. He doesn't just listen to your words, he delves into their meaning, remembering every detail, as if putting together a complex puzzle of your soul. Let's recall Louise Hay's words about the power of attention and intention. Every little thing that has been stored in his memory testifies to your importance in his life. This is not about fleeting curiosity, but about striving for a deep connection. He longs to know what drives you, what causes your anxieties, what you think about in moments of silence. And most importantly, his desire for understanding goes beyond ordinary conversations. He observes your reactions in various situations, remembers minor details that you yourself may have forgotten, and subtly adjusts his behavior in your presence. Such interest is not accidental. If a man spends time trying to understand not only your words, but also your feelings and thoughts, then there is already an emotional connection between you that goes beyond rationality. Perhaps he hasn't admitted it to himself yet, but his desire to understand you is clear proof that you occupy a special place in his inner world. Love has an amazing ability to transform, and one of the most obvious signs of a man's secret infatuation is his transformation in your presence. No matter how hard he tries to remain composed, his subconscious will betray his feelings. The moment you appear within his sight, his posture changes, the tone of his voice becomes softer, or, conversely, more energetic. His gestures might become more expressive, and if he is naturally reserved, his nervousness will become evident. As if involuntarily, his body and energy respond to your presence. Often, in the presence of the apple of his eye, men reveal their excitement through subtle signs. Some start nervously drumming their fingers, searching for something to occupy their hands, as if trying to fill the awkward void around them. Others, on the contrary, demonstrate extreme concentration, listening to every word as if it were a revelation. The most amazing thing is that the object of affection herself may not even realize these metamorphoses, while an observant eye from the outside can catch the slightest changes in his behavior. Pay attention to his body language, an involuntary lean towards you during a conversation, dilated pupils revealing genuine interest, a changing tone of voice, or a surge of energy depending on your mood. All of this could indicate that his subconscious has already made a choice that his mind has not yet dared to acknowledge. Suppressed love manifests not in words, but in gestures, glances, and actions, which, despite their subtlety, are very eloquent. Each of these signs is like a beacon, indicating that deep down he has already made his choice, which his consciousness is trying to hide. His heart cries out about it in every detail. Noticing such manifestations, think about whether there is a deep feeling hidden behind external restraint. After all, the body is a mirror of the soul, reflecting even those emotions that we are trying to conceal. When a man experiences secret love, his subconscious gives him away completely. His breathing changes, his gaze seeks refuge in your eyes, even though he tries to hide it. Perhaps, in an attempt to maintain composure, he adopts a deliberately firm pose, as if trying to prove his identity to himself in the face of a feeling that destabilizes him. But despite all his efforts, there remains an undeniable fact. He is different around you. Be attentive, and you will notice the slightest changes. He may mechanically adjust his clothes, straighten his back, or change the tone of his voice when addressing you. Sometimes he becomes overly attentive, catching your every word, and sometimes he seems distracted, as if his thoughts are occupied with something he cannot understand himself. These silent signs indicate that your presence has an influence on him that he cannot control. No matter how hard he tries to convince himself otherwise, his body, energy, and gaze will reveal the truth. Suppressed love seeps into the most imperceptible details, into those moments when body language speaks what the mind has not yet dared to admit. A telling indicator of hidden affection is the deep respect that a man shows towards you. This is not just a matter of good manners or upbringing, but rather an unspoken recognition of your significance. As Louise Hay stated, respect for others begins with respect for oneself. When a man experiences secret love, he sees you as an important figure in his life, and this is reflected in his attitude, regardless of whether he admits it openly or not. This respect is expressed not in loud statements, but in subtle manifestations that are easy to miss. He doesn't interrupt you, listens carefully to every word, avoids any statements that could offend you, and most importantly, defends your reputation in your absence. If someone tries to belittle you, his instinctive reaction will be to defend you. When your name is mentioned in a conversation, he shows genuine interest and admiration. He doesn't need to confess his love in words. His attitude speaks for itself, because the subconscious never lies. Louise Hay emphasized that our thoughts and feelings are reflected in our actions and experiences. If a man has never confessed his feelings to you, but shows sincere and unwavering respect, it means that deep down he has already given you special significance. His attitude shows that he values you so much that it goes beyond simple words, because true recognition manifests itself in every detail. But there are other, even more obvious signs. When a man is secretly in love, his mind betrays him at the most unexpected moments. Subconsciously, he constantly returns to thoughts of you. Even if he tries to live a normal life, you become a constant guest in his thoughts. He remembers insignificant details from conversations that took place weeks or months ago and associates certain songs, phrases, or places with you. Unconsciously, he may start telling a story and suddenly, for no apparent reason, mention your name. Or he may touch on topics that you discussed earlier in a conversation, as if these memories arise on their own. This is not just a coincidence. When someone becomes a symbol in another person's personal journey, their image spontaneously surfaces in the mind, even if the person tries to ignore it. If he mentions you in random situations, remembers seemingly insignificant details of your words, or associates you with certain experiences, it suggests that you have already become a part of his emotional world. The subconscious always finds a way to express what the mind tries to suppress. When a man constantly thinks about someone, even if he doesn't want to admit it, it means that this person has taken an important place in his heart. However, there is another, less noticeable, but very telling sign: quiet jealousy. We are not talking about stormy scenes or excessive reactions, but about small manifestations that hint at something more than he is willing to admit. When a man experiences hidden love, his subconscious reacts when he sees another man capturing your attention. This can be a slight change in facial expression, a barely noticeable tension in posture, or even a drier than usual response when you mention someone else. Such jealousy is not explosive or obvious. It is almost imperceptible. It manifests in indirect questions, a sudden interest in your interactions with other people, or unexplained behavior when he sees you sharing special moments with someone else. As if unable to prevent it, his mind reacts to the very thought of possible loss, even if he has never admitted that you belong to him. Suppressed love always finds its way out in the little things, in how his body reacts to your presence, in the depth with which he listens to you, and in the memories that his mind refuses to let go of. No matter how hard he tries to deny his feelings, his subconscious will speak for him. If you have noticed these signs in someone, perhaps his love for you is much deeper than you think. But are you ready to see it? When a man is in love but tries to hide it, his subconscious takes over and gives him away. One of the most obvious signs is his reaction when he feels that another man is intruding on his emotional space. He may never express his discomfort in words and will try to hide his anxiety, but his gaze, tone of voice, and even behavior near you will subtly change. Jealousy, in a genuine sense, does not have to manifest in stormy scenes and loud showdowns. Often, the most eloquent signs of hidden love manifest in subtle details of behavior. It is quite likely that a man may let go of a seemingly harmless joke about your compliment to another member of the stronger sex, but his facial expression will be at odds with the ease of the words spoken, or he may rush to change the subject when you enthusiastically talk about someone else. At times, a man demonstrates a sudden loss of interest, as if distancing himself from the conversation, as if trying to convince himself that your words do not affect him at all. However, as Louise Hay claimed, the mind is not able to deceive the heart. Our thoughts and emotions invariably find a way out, even when we strive to suppress them. And when a man subconsciously feels the threat of losing a beloved woman, his shadow comes to the surface, that very unconscious part of his personality where his most cherished fears and desires reside. Perhaps he will not want to admit it. Perhaps he will desperately fight this feeling, but his reaction will certainly betray his true experiences. Pay attention to the details. Does he feel uncomfortable when you mention another man? Do you notice changes in his mood, even the most insignificant ones? Does he suddenly try to regain your attention when he feels that someone else has taken it? These signs may seem insignificant, but taken together, they add up to a clear message. His subconscious has already made a decision that his conscious mind is not yet ready to acknowledge. Louise Hay taught us that suppressed emotions do not disappear without a trace. On the contrary, they find ways to manifest in our lives in the most unexpected way. And in the realm of love, this manifests through subtle signs, such as subtle jealousy, arising involuntarily beyond the will of the person. After all, in the end, a man can hide his words, disguise his gestures, and even deceive himself. But his energy, his reactions, and his behavior will invariably betray his true feelings. The truth about genuine love experiences sooner or later comes to the surface, especially when direct expression of feelings becomes impossible. Love seeks out secluded paths for its manifestation, imperceptibly penetrating into gestures and behavioral patterns that escape the vigilant control of the mind. When a man secretly harbors tender feelings, he may try in every possible way to hide it, but his inner world will inevitably find ways to give away his secret. It will manifest in his gaze, in his inexplicable presence nearby, in his increased care, in his deep respect for your personality, and even in barely perceptible signs of jealousy that, despite all efforts, are impossible to completely conceal. But why do so many men prefer to keep their true feelings hidden? The answer lies in the internal struggle that each of us faces, in the conflict between the image we project to the world and our authentic selves. Society teaches us from an early age to defend ourselves, to build social armor around ourselves in order to appear strong, independent, and unshakable. Many are simply afraid of vulnerability, possible rejection, or losing control of their own destiny. However, it is important to remember that suppressed feelings do not disappear. They continue to influence our thoughts, actions, and decisions, even when our consciousness tries to ignore them. If you notice such signs in a man's behavior, it is worth considering. Perhaps you are seeing love that has not yet found enough courage to openly declare itself. But the most important thing is not just to recognize this feeling in another person, but to understand what it means for yourself. Only deep self-knowledge will allow us to clearly interpret the feelings of another person, avoiding illusions and unwarranted expectations. Before delving into the complex process of analyzing male behavior, stop and listen to your own feelings. Ask yourself the key question: how sincere does this connection seem? Is there a sense of harmony and peace in this relationship? Or does it, on the contrary, generate only anxiety and uncertainty? True love is like a river freely flowing between two banks. It is a creative process based on mutual respect and support, not a puzzle that we desperately try to solve, wandering in the darkness of unfulfilled hopes. Only when we realize our true desires and understand what we deserve are we able to make decisions that will lead us to authentic and fulfilling relationships. If this self-analysis has helped you clarify what seemed like a tangled labyrinth, remember, love is not a guessing game. If a man has sincere feelings for you, sooner or later he will find the courage to openly declare them, overcoming his own fears. Until then, the decision remains with you. Are you willing to wait for a confession that may never come? Is it worth spending time waiting for something that exists only in the realm of assumptions?